What's goody, everybody? I'm Jay Hoopa, and welcome back to Bold Hoops with Jay Hoopa. For today's video, we're going to be making a dream offseason for the Mavericks. Well, I'm not going to say dream offseason because I'm not making a super team, since this is realistic. So we're making a realistic offseason for the Dallas Mavericks. The Mavericks kind of ruined something great with what they had with their conference finals team a year ago by trading for Kyrie Irving. First of all, I don't blame Kyrie at all for what happened. You can't have Kyrie and Luka on the same team. Neither of them play defense at all. And you could see that, and that's why they ended up losing. You also traded away Dorian Finney-Smith, so I'm going to be looking at trying to get a player like Dorian Finney-Smith so that you can get back that defensive intensity that you had along with the decent three-point shooting he provided. You do have Luka Doncic. We're building around him. You better make sure you do something this offseason because he might want to leave you eventually, Dallas. So trade away all the picks, all the young players. You need to get guys that are ready to compete for a championship. And I think you just need a bunch of two-way players because honestly, as much as I hate to say this, Luka Doncic can carry a team offensively to the finals as long as he has good defense and good shooting around him. But Luka, please play some freaking defense, bro. It's hard to watch, bro. I don't like your play style at all. The only reason I'm making this video is from one of my friends, but come on, bro. You whine. You act like LeBron James, and I don't like LeBron. So by whatever you want to call it, I don't like you, Luka, but you can prove something to me. Like, I know you're a great offensive player. You sent my sons home. I was pissed about that, but play some defense, bro. This is your roster for the Mavericks after last year. This is the team you ended with. You got Luka, 4-year contract. We're not moving on from him. Kyrie, honestly, you might as well just let Kyrie walk. It's not worth signing him for the contract that he wants, especially seeing that you need to fill a lot of holes on this team since the bench is very weak and then the center spot is very weak. So I'd honestly say you have your offense with Luka. He can win you games offensively. I've watched him destroy the Clippers team twice, and they had a phenomenal defensive team, and he destroyed them twice. So you're fine offensively. It's what your defense is what is holding you back right now, and re-signing Kyrie is not going to help that. So yes, Kyrie, you can walk. Tim Hardaway Jr. I love Tim Hardaway Jr. I'm keeping him on this team. He's a perfect 3-and-D guy next to Luka. 2 years left on his contract. Perfect. Not changing a thing there. Reggie Bullock, as great as I think he's a very quality player, but I also think he shouldn't be a starting guy, especially at the power forward spot. And that's what you see. This team is really small, and Dwight Powell at center, no defense there. So this team really sucks defensively. So that's what we're going to be focused on rebuilding this in this video. Frank Ntilikina, unrestricted free agent, let him walk. He had a lot of expectation when he got drafted, didn't pan out. Jaden Hardy and Josh Green, you got to trade these two, in my opinion. They're both really young, good, talented players. I think they got a steal with Jaden Hardy. So in the trade I'm going to make, I'm going to move on from both of these, but Jaden Hardy is really a guy that can basically, I think he equates as a first round pick because he was projected so high before he got drafted and he fell so far in the draft. It was really shocking. Maxi Kleba, you're going to leave him here. 3 years left on his contract. He can also play center. He's 6'10", so it's nice because he can space the floor. I'm going to leave him there. And then Christian Wood, I'm going to let him walk. You have him off the bench. What did you expect from him if you're going to have him off the bench? He's not good defensively, so what else? You got two great guys in Kyrie and Luka to carry your offense. So I was confused with why they got Kyrie if they had Christian Wood. So I'm letting both Wood and Irving walk because of the lack of defense they have. What the Mavericks really need is defensive players that can shoot the ball well. And I got 4 targets that they should look into getting. And there's also a guy that I think they need to trade for because of what he offers scoring the ball. And he's also not a terrible defender. But for the first 4 guys that I want to talk about, Draymond Green, he's interesting because I think him and Luca kind of want to play together, but I also said that about Dame. But I know Draymond is really valued in the league, but he can't shoot the ball and he's too expensive. So Luca can't really play with him because they both need the ball in their hands to do stuff offensively. So I don't like that pickup. And Jeremy Grant, he's too expensive in my opinion. And he also kind of needs the ball in his hand, but it wouldn't be a bad pickup if the Mavericks did sign him. But I also want you to get a proven 2 option, and Jeremy Grant's realistically a 3 or a 4 option on a championship team, and the amount of money he requires isn't third or fourth option money. OG Anunoby is interesting, but Toronto's asking price for him is too much. And I think you need to use whatever asset you have if you're Dallas to get the second guy you want to go with Luca. So OG Anunoby, as good as he is and as good as he could be, I don't think he's a realistic guy that Dallas can get. And then lastly, Dylan Brooks. You need to knock it off with the dumb shit, bro, because you're about to be out of an NBA job. But this would be interesting because I think him and Luca both have an attitude that would mesh well together. And what Luca brings you offensively, Brooks could bring you defensively. But I overall don't think Brooks is a great defender. I think he's just really pesky, like Patrick Beverley. Beverley's a good defender, but Brooks ain't. Now that I told you 4 guys that I would find interesting and valuable for the Mavericks, but overall don't really fit what the Mavericks want to do. Now I'm going to tell you 3 guys that I think they're going to sign and I think they should sign. I'm going to rephrase that actually. I don't think they're going to sign them, but I think they should. So first, you need to find a center. So get Clint Capella on your team. He should be fairly cheap. There's definitely a market for him, but if you use the money you invested in Christian Wood, which was a 15 plus $1 million contract, you can use the 12 million. You can use 12 million to sign Clint Capella. Interior defense, double machine, and can catch lobs, and that's all you really need at the center spot for around Luca. And he's better defender than Dwight Powell, better offensively. He's just a better overall guy to have on this team. Next, this one is probably my favorite pickup for Dallas if they can do it. It's Jay Crowder. Now, he brings you a lot what Dorian Finney-Smith brought you, and he has that dog mentality in him defensively. So, like, he's going to scrap with you, and I think he has an attitude about him similar to Draymond Green that will be very valuable for the Mavericks defense. And I think the Bucks completely blew it by not using Jay Crowder as he should have been used. And I wish my Suns were able to keep him, especially after we got Kevin Durant. But it didn't happen. But Jay Crowder, good shooter, phenomenal defender. Get him on your roster. He can be your starting power forward. And then the last signing I have is Dennis Schroeder as your 6th man for a 2-year, $10 million contract. Forgot to mention Jay Crowder is a 3-year, $9 million per season. Dennis Schroeder, he is a good guard defender that you could have for when you play teams like Denver, Golden State. As you've seen in the playoffs with the Lakers, Schroeder's been guarding Curry, Murray. Like, he's a good denial defender, and he also can create off the ball and he's not like a guy you have to give the ball, if that makes sense. Like, he's not a Kyrie. He's not a guy that's really ball dominant, but he can play point guard. So I think having a guy like him off the bench next to Luca is a phenomenal fit. I am reusing this trade from my last video. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. I will put it at the end of this video. But this was a trade I made between the Bulls and the Mavericks because I did the Chicago Bulls in my last video. In this trade, the Mavericks get DeMar DeRozan and Andre Drummond in exchange for Davis Bertans, Josh Green, Jaden Hardy, the 10th pick, and a future pick, which will be pick 20, which will be in 2025. Sorry. DeMar DeRozan is a great player to have alongside Luka because he gives you effort defensively and he can also create offensively. He can create his own shot, which is what you realistically traded to get Kyrie Irving for. But DeMar DeRozan is a better defender than Kyrie. Not as good of a scorer, but you don't need a phenomenal scorer next to Luka because, as I said, he can carry an offense to the conference finals as he already did. So getting a guy like DeMar DeRozan, who's a shot creator and a shot maker, is perfect. Then Andre Drummond, he can be your backup center. There's not really much to talk about there, but he can back up Clint Capella. I mean, those are two really good pickups in my opinion. And then you're trading away Davis Bertans. That's just to make money work, and you don't play him. So sending him to Chicago, where I think Chicago is going to rebuild, that's just a cap filler for Chicago. Then Josh Green has the chance to become a really good shooting guard or slash small forward in this league. He can shoot the ball great and whatnot. If you've watched the Mavericks play, you know he's shown a lot of potential. Then Jaden Hardy is so underrated. Like, he's criminally underrated in my opinion. He has the chance to be a higher grade Tyrese Maxey in my opinion because he's taller and he has a better jump shot in my opinion. So, hey, I'm just saying, Chicago, get your hands on Jaden Hardy if you're going to look to move on from DeMar, because as you should, you really need to rebuild. Then the 10th pick, and if you want to find out who I think the Bulls should take, I have a very, very good opinion on that. So go watch my last video. And then, of course, 2025 pick, that could be valuable. But if you're Dallas, you don't need any first round picks. Like, draft picks are to find your superstars and hopefully some decent role players. But you already have your superstar, so you can use your picks to find like win now players, because every year you're in a rebuild with Luka is a year wasted. Because as I said, he's good enough to take you to the conference finals. So as long as you have a roster around him, you can win. If you're looking at this is the depth chart for the 2023-2024 season. If Dallas made the moves that I just made, of course, you have Luka at point guard, and then Dennis Schroeder as your backup point guard. That's perfect. That is absolutely perfect because you don't need a lot of guard depth. Schroeder doesn't need to play big minutes. He only needs to play big minutes when you're playing a team with a really good point guard. Because if you're looking at this roster, Tim Hardaway Jr. isn't, I don't think, as capable of guarding a Steph Curry. So teams like the Warriors, Nuggets, as I mentioned, you're going to struggle to guard their best players. Well, Murray's not the best player on the Nuggets, but you know what I mean. Dennis Schroeder's perfect to have there. And then, as I said, Tim Hardaway Jr., love him on this team. He's a phenomenal shooter. He's staying as shooting guard. I'm moving him to shooting guard because last year he ended the season as the small forward. But this team's kind of positionless if you look at it. And then small forward, DeMar DeRozan. I've already talked about that enough. Shot maker, shot creator next to Luka. Power forward, Jay Crowder, 3-and-D guy. He's like, look at the floor spacing, minus Clint Capella. This is a great floor spacing team. And if you need floor spacing at the center spot, you have Maxi Kleba, who's 6'10". This team could contend, and it's not like it's a super team. It's a realistic team you can build around Luka if the management's smart. And then Andre Drummond, of course, as your backup center. He can get rebounds. He has a 1-year, $3 million contract. You don't need to play him. And then Reggie Bullock. He's better suited for a role off the bench on a championship team than he is as a starting guy, especially if he was starting at the power forward position. And there you have it. That is what I think the Dallas Mavericks should look like in 2023, 2024. If you have any comments about this, you know what to do. Comment. Also, DM me on Instagram. The TikTok is officially up. I'm going to start posting on it soon. And without anything else to say, I think this has been Bold Hoops with Jay Hoopa.